Hi, I'm Susanna Braidwaring, Managing Director of Aspirin Business Solutions, and we're based down in Dorset in the UK. We have been saying for several months now that we are experiencing unprecedented change. And it's rather scary to kind of see just how real that has become. The reason I say that is because in the UK, we've been going through Brexit for a long time. We've been experiencing a very high level of mental health. 1 in 4 people expected to experience mental ill health at some point during their lives, and many people were already living payday to payday. So with the advent of COVID-19, with the scale of it, the uncertainty of it in terms of how it's going to impact us individually, how it's going to impact society, how long that's going to go on for, the whole thing just starts to feel overwhelming and out of our control. At our essence, we are emotional beings, each trying to make our way through this world, through this life, and to have a sense of being successful at it. Our emotions are the very essence of our humanity, although we've often been taught that we need to suppress those. Instead of suppressing them, we actually need to develop our emotional intelligence, to nurture, to fuel, to release ourselves, and to help other people to do the same thing, to become the very best versions of ourselves, and to do that in this lifetime, because who knows if we have any others. So I want to share some of our expertise around understanding emotions, understanding what people are experiencing right now, because the fear, the uncertainty, the disconnect is affecting each of us differently. And for some people, it is incredibly real, visceral, and close. So I just want to share with you something that comes from our global community of motivational MAP practitioners. So within our business of Aspirin Business, we have a separate brand called Motivated Performance, and we train and support a global community of motivational MAP practitioners from the UK to Hungary to Australia. And motivation at its essence is fuel. It's what energizes us. It's what gives us resilience and enthusiasm and enables us to inspire and be inspired as well, and to put that into action. And so motivation fits into every aspect of our lives. It gives us energy, so from the top going around like a clock, it gives us energy, it gives us happiness, it helps us feel confident, which then helps us to perform at our work, in our lives at our best. It certainly influences our career choices, the kind and the quality of decision making. It influences the quality and the type of relationships we have, absolutely influences our behavior and our resilience, which kind of brings us back around again. And that is massively being impacted at this time with the COVID-19 disaster, because it's impacting us at the very base levels of our motivation. So within our Motivational MAP global community, we run video conferences, and one of our practitioners, as we talked about this recently, appeasing the defender motivator, which is asking to help me feel safe. It's something that we shared, and then one of our practitioners, Raj Nathu from Sydney, has asked about something that he's seen recently in something called The Conversation. So he said that a recent survey, I'll move this out of the way, a recent survey has shown that more Australians are worried about the long-lasting societal effects of COVID-19 than they are about the immediate impact onto their own lives. And where we are social distancing, and it might become reasonable to think that society will become even more selfish. And we have seen, to be fair, an element of that with all of the toilet roll hoarding and people trying to grab what they can from the supermarkets. Actually, people are really worried about society becoming selfish, more so than they are worried about actually losing their own jobs, feeling lonely, or catching the virus themselves. So here's the data around that comes from that article and from that survey, which was done in collaboration with researchers around the world, and the authors down there. So what you're really looking at is the bottom right hand side when you're looking at the blues, which is indicating where people are worrying a lot, going to worrying a fair bit. And so you can see that people actually are far more worried with at the bottom, the health system being overloaded, with an economic recession, with society getting more selfish, and with small businesses failing, and people that they love dying, than they are with becoming infected themselves, or even becoming unemployed and feeling lonely for a while. So why is it that people are worried, and specifically, what is it that's driving that kind of worry now? So I think this is a really useful graph. It indicates that actually there is a healthy level of stress, and then that can tip into becoming unhealthy. And it's really helpful for all of us to understand where that tipping point comes. So we need an optimal level of stress, which is in the middle of the graph. An optimal level of stress actually gives us those kind of deadlines, that focus that helps us to feel motivated, helps us to feel that we're at our peak and that we're performing at our peak in the moment. But we're more over to the right hand side now, moving into that orange and the dark orange, where we're getting this stress overload. We are, I am, everyone that I know is, so there's a fair chance that you are feeling fatigued. And that doesn't mean that we're fatigued all the time. It comes in fits and starts. So one day you're going to be, peak performance. I can do this. There's so much I want to do, need to get out there. And another day it's kind of quite hard to leave the bed and to even know where to get started. And we're moving into this exhaustion side, and with elements of panic. We need to watch this really carefully, because it's the straw that broke the camel's back. If we don't take our rest, if we don't get ourselves into a good routine, if we don't actually address these emotions that actually are the essence of us, then they're going to overwhelm us, and it can lead to that burnout and that breakdown. And none of us are immune to that. So just being aware of kind of where you are, and it will vary, and sort of taking care of yourself. And why is that happening? So this is the one of the core tools that sits behind motivational maps. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, something that's been around since the 50s, a long, long time, because fundamentally it resonates as a model, as a way of explaining human emotions, our needs, and what's driving us. And everyone has a different motivational map profile, which means that all of us will need all of these different ingredients, but in different quantities. So some people will need lots and lots of security all the time, whilst others will need very little. Probably everyone who's listening to this is usually more at the top end of Maslow's hierarchy, looking to fulfill themselves, be the best that they can be, in order to help other people be the best that they can be. But we, along with everybody else, actually is seeing a lot more need to address our very biological, physiological needs, those basic life needs of air, of food, of the fact that we have got some place, but at the same time wanting some space, some breath, some freedom. All of these are motivators. All of these are needs. And I want to address the bottom ones here, those pink and the light blue one, the safety needs, the belonging, because this is where right now COVID-19 is hitting us right at those base levels of Maslow's hierarchy, which you can see the circular diagrams there with the green, the red and the blue. They are the motivational map icons, and the green ones are very much around the relationship, very past orientated, very much around going, how do I be successful as I make my way through this life? And the people who've got more of the green are more based on relationships. Their relationships with their past. How was I successful yesterday? Who can I rely on? What helped me succeed? And wanting to have more of that. But because there is so much uncertainty right now around what's impacting us, how long it's going to impact us, the level of that impact, all of these bottom, more relationship needs are being affected for all of us. So I want to take you through that very briefly, and to answer Raj's kind of question around, are we being more affected in these lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? And the answer, Raj, is absolutely yes. And this is why. So this is the defender motivator. Sits right at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of need. And it's the most powerful of all human needs, this tendency to avoid risk and pain. So, we were only born with two learned behaviors, one of which is the fear of falling, and the other one is the fear of sudden and loud noises. Everything else is a learned behavior, but we have to learn from being very, very young that things are painful to us physically, emotionally, mentally, and we have to learn how to avoid that. And that's how a lot of our meta-programming, that's how a lot of our lessons in learned life are learned. So defenders, and typically this would normally apply to people who are engineers, people in corporates, have a higher defender motivator. A lot of young people have a higher defender motivator, but right now it's affecting all of us much more. So defenders value that high job security, clear roles and responsibility, regular and accurate information, continuity, loyalty, order, clarity, and time to prepare. You can see that all of those things are being affected right now. Even people in the UK who are furloughed are going, but does that mean that my job is at risk of redundancy? And therefore, who am I now? Where do I belong? How am I going to pay the bills? What does that mean for me going forwards? And I'm in this kind of stalemate. I don't even have the certainty to know that this has actually happened, and therefore be able to put a plan of action together. So we are craving more information, more certainty, and of course this virus is changing all the time. The way it's impacting us is changing all the time, and the way that our governments and society is reacting to it is changing every day. And therefore our business leaders, our managers, are also having to share and change and adapt and pivot daily as to how we're reacting to it. So of course all of us are craving more of this security and certainty. What can we do about it? As I say, we're just trying to give people more information, but also saying we don't have all the answers. We don't know the definitive answer right now, but we're going to keep you informed and keep you in the loop. And that's probably as much as you can do. And providing that base layer of security, why the furlough in the UK is so helpful, and for the self-employed, that they've got at least a base level of income, so they know that they can feed themselves for a while. And the same as the not being able to repossess rented houses. People need that shelter, that security, whilst we understand what's going on and how long this is going to last. So, and then we move up one level in Maslow's hierarchy. I'm only going to do these two levels. So the friend then is about that society breaking down. Friend crave belonging, involvement, rewarding relationships. Many of us do not want this motivator at work, to feel too included, to feel too collaborative, to feel that we need friendships at work can really interfere with our ability to do our work well. That doesn't mean we're not friendly. It doesn't mean that we don't like people. It does not mean that we do not care. But very often, in order to care well and to do our job well, we actually need to be able to be a bit more logical about it. And friendships can really cloud that. However, as a society, as individuals, we all need somewhere to belong. And that might be a tiny group. But of course, with COVID-19, many of us are in social isolation, distancing ourselves, and even going down the road, people not making eye contact with us, let alone getting physically close. So this is something, again, that we are missing. People who are always motivated by the friend tend to be younger people. This is a very important motivator when people are at school, learning. That inclusion, being excluded when you're young, is incredibly painful. We get a bit more used to it when we're older, and we have more choices around who we spend our time with. So young people, people who tend to work on call centres, customer retention, a lot of those people like that. Friend is high motivator for me. My style is very collaborative as well. We're missing that inclusion. So belonging is also a deeply seated human need, and the tendency toward inclusion. How can you help people to feel they're part of something? If you're a manager, and we'll go through this very briefly, if you're a manager, communicate, tell them what they can do, help them to understand how to feel part of it. Yes, have your team meetings, but don't have too many team meetings. Maybe have some voluntary lunches so that people have a choice. If they want to just spend their lunchtime with other people, they can just turn up with no agenda. So giving people some choice around how they can get together and still feel included, keeping them in the loop again, is super important to them. So on that note, I want to just share something around the stress container. Super useful tool, mostly for preventative measures in maintaining mental health and avoiding mental ill health. It's just a model, this idea that we all have a stress container within us. The size varies. It fills up with things. It's filling up with a huge amount of things, a lot of which are uncertainty and feeling excluded, as well as worries around money and society and the economy and the healthcare system. All those things that you saw in that Australian study. And the green valve openers at the bottom. So imagine this is a container. We have a tap at the bottom. We can open it using these green helpful coping methods, or these red unhelpful coping methods. And you can see that actually talking with a friend, being active, having our hobbies, using our creative brains, getting some space, whatever that looks like, even if it's just selfish time, is all super important for us in actually releasing the stress, staying mentally well so that we can be well for other people. Whereas these the red unhelpful ones can look helpful, can feel helpful, but recognizing that actually overdone, they are unhelpful. And that includes work. Most of us are going to be very, very good at work. We know how to be successful at work. Although COVID-19, not being able to be at work, people are really struggling now. They're getting bored. They don't know how to be successful. They don't know how to operate. They're not used to spending this amount of time in one place and with their family. And it's becoming a real struggle. Just notice this, just be aware of what's helpful for you when it's becoming unhelpful, so that you're just more aware of your own stress container and what helps you turn the tap on to release that stress and what blocks it up as well. And sometimes, yes, our family add to it and block it up, and we need to do some things which on the face of it may feel selfish, but actually is really helpful, because when we're in a better place, we can be in a better place for others. In terms of that certainty, recognizing that right now we have to focus, this is the Stephen Covey's urgent versus important quadrant of used in time management, but recognizing, let's focus on that necessity. The other things need to wait right now, but that necessity, meeting those crises, meeting those deadlines, sorting out the priorities, and then being able to go back to the quality, whilst also recognizing that that quality gives us one of those coping mechanisms. It helps us to be creative, gives us that space and motivates us. Financial survival, cash is king, focusing again on our priorities. This is just a different model based on what are the things that we must do, the should do, the could do. You can use this for your time, you can use this for your money. So what are the things you absolutely must spend money on? What are the things that you should spend some money on? And maybe letting go of some of those things that you could spend some money on, some of those luxuries which actually are just going to put pressure on right now. And just coming down to making sure that we're safe, secure, we have some certainty. And there's some information. If you want these slides, just give me a shout and I can send them to you. Just email us at Aspirin Business. You can jump on the website, or it's sue@aspirinbusiness.com. Just again, thinking of the should, could, should, must payments, looking at longer term solutions, what the government can help you with and where you can delay payments. Again, in the UK, HMRC being very helpful, and we're very grateful for that, in delaying some of our business and personal tax payments as well. So taking advantage of that increases our certainty as well. And in terms of our team, just understanding if you manage a team, how you can communicate, support them, help them to feel more safe, secure, certain, but also included, involved, valued is super important. We all have a duty of care, understand what that is, and then just keep in touch with your team, helping them to understand how to look after their own well-being, some real basics around how can they work effectively at home, how can they manage that. This one's about routines. It's easy to get out of your routine, so get back into routine, create a new routine, start as closely as possible to your normal work routine because that is known and certain, but adapt it. Yes, get showered, get dressed appropriately for the day's activities. Make sure you take some break times, make sure you take a walk or get some other exercise in your garden or your house. Drink plenty of water, fresh vegetables to keep you safe and well. But also manage your time so you feel productive, you feel like you're accomplishing something, you feel like you can use the expertise that you have worked so hard to achieve. Creating your to-do list, and then importantly trying to start and finish your work at normal times. Again, creating some of those routines helps us have certainty around a pattern of what's work, what's home, what's life, what's normal. This is around the mental health, that stress container, identifying what increases your stress, like the mood hoovers in your life, and managing that, knowing who your go-to people are, the people who give you energy. And also, if you're a manager, again, if this is for you, having those helpful numbers to hand, because you never know when you may get into a conversation when you need these numbers. These numbers are for the UK. You need to know your own numbers so that if someone needs some help, you know where to forward them to. And really importantly, finding something to look forward to every day. It might be a piece of chocolate, it might be walking with your dog, it might be a phone call, it might be something on Netflix, but finding something to look forward to every day is really, really important. And then this is going back to the Maslow's hierarchy. So I've just found something here to tick off every level of Maslow's hierarchy, starting at the bottom: physical welfare, health. If you're concerned about money, do something about it. Don't bury your head in the sand because it's going to catch up with you. So do something about it. Have a conversation. In the UK, go to Citizens Advice Bureau, look on Martin Lewis's Money Supermarket, Healthway, supermarket website. Talk to your friends. People are going to have ideas even if they can't directly solve it for you. We all need to know we're accomplishing something, so celebrate your achievements with your manager, your team, yourself, your dog, whether that's a chocolate, a biscuit. As I say, some downtime, do something to kind of just give yourself a pat on the back. It is not selfish, it's important. Every day do something that you're good at, because we need to use our expert motivator to feel we've achieved something, to feel we're making progress. Progress equals happiness. If it's within you, if you want to take the opportunity to learn something new, that might be something in business, it might be a technical skill, it might be the guitar, it might be cooking, just do something new. Find a way to be creative. No one's coming around anyway, so who's going to see it? Just give it a go. No one can hear you singing, just give it a go. Take a break, as I've said, have some selfish time, and find a way to make a difference. Most people are motivated by purpose. How can you make a difference? Phone a friend, send a funny emoji, or really importantly, know that simply by staying at home, keeping yourself well, taking the pressure off the NHS, off your healthcare system, actually is one of the biggest differences that you can make right now. And so finally, just to wrap all of this up, this is kind of where we normally take feedback, as I say, but just a quick reminder, hope is hugely important at any time. It's part of the human condition. We need to believe that tomorrow is going to get better. But it's especially important now when fear and uncertainty are so close, so vivid, so real. We are emotional beings trying to make our way in this world. We've been taught to suppress our emotions, but our emotions are the very essence of our humanity. So I would encourage each of you to, instead of suppressing your emotions, to develop your emotional intelligence, to learn how to nurture, to fuel, to release yourself, to be the best version of yourself. in this lifetime so that you can help others to be the best version of themselves in this lives and their whole self, not just the professional looking self that we kind of want to portray to other people, that social media kind of self. Um, we've all got our preferences to learning. So when it comes to learning and developing this emotional intelligence, just find yours. Mine is Maslow's hierarchy of need. Mine is motivational maps because it resonated with me. It made sense. But go out there. There's so much stuff out there. Go find your own way and take care, stay well, stay positive, look after yourselves. And I just hope this has made a little bit of difference to at least one person, especially to Raj, who inspired this. And I hope that he can make some good use of this as well. Take care. Lots of love.